Debra. Beautiful. Welcome to my podcast, Journey to Healing the Divine Feminine. I'm Jill, your host. Thank you for joining us. Today, I have with me beautiful guest Debra Pearse from Canada. Debra Pearse, known as the energy therapist, is a heart-centered coach, healer, educator, and intuitive guide with over 4 decades of experience in the animal health and wellness industry. Blending her deep knowledge of energy work, animal communication, and holistic therapies, Debra helps people connect with the wisdom of the natural world, especially the animal kingdom. Her work is rooted in the belief that animals are spirit messengers, offering guidance, support, and synchronicities to those who are open to their signs. Through her coaching courses and signature offerings like the Wisdom from Your Animal Guide, Debra empowers others to embrace their intuitive, interpret animal messages, and walk a path of alignment, abundance, and inner peace. When she's not working with clients or leading workshops, you'll find Debra spending time with her beloved horses, dogs, and the wild beauty of nature, where she continues to receive her own daily reminders of animal wisdom. You can read more about Debra, her full bio, and professional credentials on her website, www.theenergytherapist.com. Thank you so much. Aloha, Debra. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's lovely.
So today, your topic, and I love this because I've been seeing so many, is signs, symbols, and synchronicities, and your journey around the divine feminine in that aspect. So I am going to turn it over to you. And yeah, let's hear it. I know, again, like I said, I'm seeing all these signs and symbols, feathers, coins, and all that. So
Mhm.
let's hear it from you.
Yeah, so when we think about our animals, they've really been messengers in cultures all around the world for forever, it seems, right? In Native American traditions, in Celtic lore, in Eastern philosophies, like just all over the world. And the way I see this, I think that's the universe speaking to us in these little whispers and little glimmers, and that our animals really have one of the most profound voices. And if we can just tap in to listen a little bit. And these signs and symbols from the animal kingdom, I mean, they come in both physical and energetic forms. Sometimes it might be an animal crossing your path in nature, or maybe it's just an image that you keep getting or you keep seeing. It could be dreams, or even just this feeling of like an inner knowing that you just feel like there's this animal either within you or surrounding you. And it's just something that, intuitive, you can just feel its presence. And well, I'm curious, Jill, have you ever had an animal show up for you, like just at the right moment? Like just, like, oh my gosh, there it is.
Absolutely. I see them every day on my walks, even at night when I'm doing my moon ceremony, I
Mhm.
hear the winged ones. So
Mhm.
absolutely, Deborah. Absolutely. And they
Yeah,
always seem to be like I go and I'm like, okay, it's just exactly what I need to know in that moment.
right.
The
Yeah.
medicine of the animal, the
Yeah,
spirit.
that's true. It often is medicine. And sometimes it's a physical presence that you're going to see an animal repeatedly or in an unusual context, like a hawk that's always landing in front of you, or you're driving and that hawk is, always passing you or going along beside your vehicle. Um, Sometimes it can be symbolism. It can be you keep seeing the same image all over the place on a car, on a billboard, on a book, on on a restaurant sign. Like it'll just be this image, like the
Yeah.
Fox Cafe, or um,
Right.
or even like artwork and logos, or you might even hear an animal's name being mentioned all the
Mm.
time. It's
Yeah.
not always a visual. It might be, okay, I heard that, or I heard the sound of an animal, and where did that come from?
Mm.
Um, I think a lot of times too, our these messages come to us in our dreams. Animals can show up in our dreams, and they're bringing with them some very subconscious messages. We have to be in that dream state to be able to receive them because maybe during the day we were just too busy. So they said, okay, I'll just wait until she's asleep and she's very quiet and still, and I can get her undivided attention. And they just, kind of come into our dreams. I've had that happen. You've probably had that happen where you've dreamt of an animal. Um,
Mm.
and then there's this energetic connection that sometimes you just feel drawn to a certain animal. Or you, like I
Mm.
said earlier, you sense its presence around you.
Mm.
Even if it's not physically there, but you just might be feeling the energy of that animal,
Yeah.
and it might be a pet. It might be an animal on a farm. It might be an animal in nature. It might be a wild animal, somewhere off on a safari, but you'll just feel drawn to the energy of that animal.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that resonate? Like there's many ways that these animals come through, right?
Yeah.
And I think for some of us, we have maybe a specific animal that we see all the time. That might be your animal, what you feel is your spirit animal or your totem animal, like depending on what
Mhm.
your culture is. But I always say to my clients and my students, like, just notice the timing. Like, when did that animal show up for you in whatever form? And what were you thinking or feeling or maybe worried about, or you're pondering a big decision, or you're on the brink of something. Like, what was happening in your life at the moment that that animal showed up? And to me,
Great
that's really,
question.
really important
Yes.
because that's where the signs and symbols and synchronicities really start to come in for me, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not always just what the animal is, but when did that animal appear?
Mm.
When did that animal
And
appear?
for what
And for what
reason?
reason? Like, what are
And
they trying to share? Are they bringing a message of wisdom, or are they alerting you to something, or are they validating something that you're going through, or are they gently sort of pushing you to make a decision that maybe
mm,
you haven't felt strong enough to make on your own, but this animal is kind of guiding you and encouraging you to step into your own power and make that decision. And it's like they're behind
mm.
you, just giving this little gentle push, just in the
Oh, I
direction
love
of your
that.
dreams, perhaps, right?
Yep. Yep. It's important. I have a little dream journal I have right next to my bed and
Hmm.
try to capture that.
Hmm.
What animal, and maybe, have that sacred dialogue right before you wake up and kind of just like sit into that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, yeah.
Yeah. And, when you look at different cultures, different animals are going to have, um, different meanings, different energetic connections. Often when people see winged ones, like a hawk, for instance,
Mhm.
we're usually thinking, okay, vision, clarity, maybe we need to see the big picture. So there's certain traits that each animal may have to help you like I said, either validating or helping you make a decision or encouraging you or whatever it might be. Like a fox, for instance, might show up when you need to be really smart about something, or maybe you need to be adaptable, or there's solutions where you haven't really seen like problems where you haven't seen the solution yet, but the fox
Mm.
kind of shows up and you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that before?
Mm.
um, deers often show up and they bring us gentleness and trust,
Mm.
and the deer doe eyes, that those soft eyes that people always talk about with deers. So they're, to me, the deers are always like reflecting this real deep sense of a heart-centered energy, like very kind and just, very
Yep.
warm and loving. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, and then of
Beautiful.
course butterflies. I mean, that's another big one that people will see. And to me, that's always about transformation,
Yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
The butterfly
Oh,
is a
yeah.
big one for if we're going through some sort of transformation. And again, it might be that we see a butterfly or we're thinking about butterflies all the time, or maybe we're drawn to go to a botanical garden and it's full of butterflies and we didn't even know there was going to be butterflies
Mhm.
there. Maybe we go get a tattoo with a butterfly.
I love
There's
that.
so
Oh,
many different ways that these signs and symbols and synchronicities will come through.
beautiful. Yep. So
Yeah.
I know working with my clients, deer, I very much work with the animal kingdom as well.
Hmm.
That's what drew me to you. That's how we
That's why we're
connected,
so
right?
connected because we
So
have this shared energy of
we
the wisdom from
do.
the animals.
And the deer is all about compassion, right?
Yes.
Like you said, and the doe
Yeah.
eyes. And
Yeah.
another big connection that we have, Deborah, is the horse medicine. Oh, I can't wait to,
100%.
you
Yes.
can't wait to talk about this because I know with the horse medicine, horses, the healer,
Hmm.
also trust,
Trust
beauty,
100%.
courage.
Yeah.
And so many of my clients with trust, trust
Yeah.
issues. So horse comes
Yeah.
in this beautiful
Yeah. A
sessions.
horse medicine is just incredibly healing. Horses are such spiritual animals, and
Mm,
they have such wisdom, and they're so kind, you
yeah.
know, and they're so patient with us when they're sharing these messages. Um,
Mm.
I
And
have just
sovereign, they're sovereign, right? They're
yes,
sovereign beings, which that's what we all want to be is free.
100%. And the trust piece is so big. Can I share a story?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, I
Let me
knew there
share a
was going to be
story.
something.
This is very personal. This is about my own horse, Jade. So Jade was a racehorse and she was retiring her career and she was listed on a website where they were rehoming racehorses. And I myself was recovering from quite an accident where I had a traumatic brain injury. And my accident was a freak accident with a horse. So,
Mm.
it was one of these things where I felt on a very deep level that in order for me to heal this accident, I needed a horse to help me heal from the
Mm.
accident that happened with a horse. So, talking about dreams, one night I had a dream. And my dream was the message that came through was that I was supposed to rescue a retiring racehorse. And I'm like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? So
Mm.
I started looking at, various um, organizations that were helping horses coming off the track and starting a new career. Well, long story short, I was, I had a booth actually at the Royal Winter Fair, which is a very large agricultural fair in Toronto. And I'd had a booth down there for a week. And I came home one night from that. And I remember I was just sitting at the dining room table having my dinner late at night. And I was just scrolling actually through my Facebook feed. And this organization came up that I'd never heard of before. And it was a rescue group in New York State in the US that was rehoming horses. And I was scrolling along and I saw this horse and the name actually I went, oh, that's so cool. And I thought, I'm going to look into this. But then the next morning I started doubting myself and I was back in Toronto at this big show with my booth and my friend was there. And I told her that, this website had come up and I'd seen this, these horses and she said, well, just call. And I'm like, it's in the States. I'm in Canada. Like, she's like, call, right? So I called and I spoke to the trainer who had this horse that I saw. And he said, oh, Deborah, I'm so sorry. I just placed that horse last week. He said, but I have
Mm.
another horse. And this,
Mm.
this trainer had a very strong Colombian accent. And he said to me, I have another horse. She is very special to me, and I need her to go someone who is very special. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, well, actually directed him to my website first. I said, look at my credentials and tell me if I'm the right fit for this horse. And so he did, and he called me back and he said, Yes, let's talk. So he told me where I could find her on this website. And he said, you're really going to have to scroll and scroll and scroll. So I'm scrolling through all these pictures of these horses, and then I saw her and I zoomed in on her eye. And I screamed out, "Oh my God, look at her eye." And my friend came running across. Her booth was across the hall. She comes running across and she said to me, what? Like, what is it about her eye?" And I said, "That's my horse." And she said, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And she said, "Well, it's beautiful. She's beautiful." So I, called back the trainer and we started talking. And he said, "Debra, I want her to come to you."
Mm.
So we started making plans. I had never seen the horse and I've never met the trainer. I've never been to that racetrack, but I know this is my horse. So I had to find a vet in the USA who could go and do the paperwork to bring her to Canada. Never had seen that vet, had to totally trust the vet. Then I had to find a way to get this horse from the States to Canada. And at this time, here I am at this big horse show, but everybody's leaving this horse show in Toronto and they're going to Wellington, Florida on the circuit. So nobody is coming north. Everybody's going south. And everyone's saying, "Well, we can bring her back, but it's going to take us about 4 months." And I'm like, "No, she has to leave the track in a week." So we kept looking around and I started talking to friends. And then a friend had a friend had a friend, and we found somebody who could bring her from the States. Again, I've never met this person. Trust again, right? So now
Trust.
I've got at least four people involved I've never met, including the horse, and it's all about trust. And so this person says she'll get the horse. She brings her from the States across the border. So much trust that she pays the taxes to bring this horse into Canada at the border. She doesn't know me. I don't know her.
Oh,
Trust. She brings
wow.
her all the way to me in a snowstorm.
Oh,
Trust.
Deborah.
And this horse comes off the trailer, and all day long, the trainer and I are going back and forth. We're like two nervous parents, right? Where is she now? Is she okay? Has she arrived? I don't know. Anyhow, what
Oh,
happened was this whole experience was based on trust. I hadn't
mm.
met the horse, hadn't met the trainer, hadn't been to the racetrack, hadn't met the vet, hadn't met the shipper. Like, you're having somebody
Wow.
bring your horse from one country to another. You have no idea who they are. But everything intuitively told me this was
Mm.
my horse. She was meant to come to me, and it was this big exercise in trust. And
Wow.
here she is now,
Wow.
7.5 years later. We've been together. Her trainer
Oh.
has become one of my closest friends. He is the most wise horseman I ever met. And
Mm.
we love each other both very deeply. He came to my house with his wife about 3 years after I had Jade. And it just goes to show how animals, horses can just evolve and just
Mm.
bring this sense of trust to us. So
Wow.
that's
What
my
a
biggest trust
story.
story.
That's huge. So, if anyone out there watching this, that's huge. And your intuition, right? It all like everything.
It all started in a dream. And I say to people, it's like a
Mm.
fairy tale. Like
Oh, I love it.
like when it's kind of crazy when you look at all the pieces that had to happen. And literally I had less than a week to get this horse out of the racetrack. Otherwise she
Wow.
had nowhere to go. And so everything just came together in divine timing. All the
Effortlessly.
right people
Yep.
showed up at the right time to not only support me, but to support her
Mm.
and to get her to
Yeah.
her home.
I love that. Oh, I just,
So that's one of my biggest experiences in trust. And
mm,
knowing that this is the horse that I needed to help me heal. And I
hmm.
and I made a promise to her when she came to me. I said to her, "I promise I will always look after you, but I also am going to ask you to always look after me." So we made
Oh,
that promise to each other.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a really beautiful connection, when you
Yeah.
can just let go and trust that everything is happening for the highest good
Yeah.
in divine timing.
Mm,
So that's
Deborah.
personal story about trust.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if anyone again out there listening, watching, just notice any patterns, notice the signs, ask the animal, whether it
Hmm.
be four-legged or two-legged, or the winged, or the webbed, or the fin, the furred, the creepy
Yeah.
crawlers, right?
They all have
Um,
messages for us, and they all have wisdom to share,
yeah,
right?
medicine, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
medicine
here
to
in
share.
Hawaii, so I'm surrounded by all of the cetaceans, so the whales.
Mm.
Um, And just the other, it seems sunset. You said, notice the signs, what time they come in. So
Yeah,
sunset, Deborah,
yeah.
whales, and the mamas teaching their calves how to
Mhm.
breach.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
s-
Yeah, so it's really about listening to those messages, like we said, like this came to me in a dream. And maybe I just like had to be so still that that's the way the message got to me, right?
yeah,
But
sure.
what it did was it really helped me to like I thought I had a good sense of trust of, things are going to happen when they're supposed to. But that was
Mm,
huge. And it,
mm,
and it still kind of blows my mind a little bit to this day. And when I
yeah,
share it with people, they're like, wow, like that's a crazy
yeah.
story.
Like,
You never saw the horse? Nope. You never met the trainer? Nope.
and
Like
that
they're
we're gonna
like, nope, 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 nope.
that is pure trust, intuition. That is the divine feminine, right? That is that
100%. Yeah,
that is
100%.
that's what this whole podcast is about, is
Yeah.
journey to healing that. And that was your beautiful, beautiful share. And thank you. I love that.
Oh, my
So
pleasure.
how
Yeah.
many others, and I'm human, right? So there's times too where I'm like, oh, I don't know, you just gotta
Hmm.
lean into it.
Hmm.
And that's why the animal kingdom is here to help us, right? Like you said, they're
100%. And sometimes they'll leave you physical signs too. I
mm,
find for myself, and I believe you and I share this, that we both receive a lot of feathers.
hmm
And I find that feathers will appear to me when I'm making a big decision, when I need validation, when I need support and comfort, like knowing that I'm on the right track or everything's going to be okay. And a lot of times it will be feathers and they will show up in very unusual places, you know. And
Oh,
I will
oh, right.
ask, I will ask and say, okay, if I'm on the right track, I can think of one specific incident with the horse. And I was thinking about something. I said, if I'm on the right track, just leave me a sign where I've never seen it before. And then all of a sudden I looked down and there was literally a white feather plastered to my horse's hoof. And I'm like,
That's right.
okay, thank you.
Oh, I love that. I know you shared that with me. Thank you for bringing that
That
into the
was
podcast.
crazy.
Yeah.
And another time I was riding and we were cantering along and it was a bit slippery and Jade actually stumbled and she went down on her knees. And I thought, oh, this is it. Like I'm going, head over heels here. And as we started to stumble and go down, I saw a big white feather in the sand, in the wet sand. And as I saw that, she literally pushed herself up and like popped me back into the saddle. And I just stopped and I went, whoa.
Wow.
So, of course, what did I do? I had to dismount and go and get that feather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's part of my
Oh,
collection.
oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. We could talk
We could talk for
forever.
hours. There's
But
so many
yeah.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to say about
I would like to just talk just for a couple of minutes about how we can often we're receiving signs from our animals that have transitioned.
mm,
So, our animals are still around us even when they have passed into another dimension. And they will often try to leave us signs or symbols or
Mhm.
synchronicities to let us know that they're okay. And when I had to say goodbye to my 16-year-old border collie, Maggie, it was very heartbreaking for me because we were, so connected. But it was her time. And
Mhm.
Maggie was always a very noisy, barky dog. She really wanted to protect me, so she would make sure that if anybody was around that she didn't know, she'd become very scary, even though she was actually scared herself, but she'd make a lot of noise. So the day that Maggie was leaving us and leaving her physical body, my garden was full of blue jays.
Mhm.
And I do get blue jays, but I'll get one or two at the bird feeders. This particular day, there was more than I've ever seen in my garden. And this was
Mhm.
before Maggie transitioned. So we said goodbye to her under my favorite tree in my garden. And
Mhm.
after many tears, when I could finally walk away from her physical body, I came into the house. And on my coffee table, I had a nice tray with a lot of my crystals. And my eldest son was with me. And we came in and sat down. And of course, we're both crying. And I looked at my crystals and I said to Alexander, "Did you put that blue jay feather there?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Huh. Okay, that's from Maggie."
Mhm.
And so it all made sense then, right? Because then there were so many blue jays for that whole day in my backyard, the blue jay feather
Mhm.
inside the house. I didn't put it there. He didn't put it there. Um, and then there was other signs after, like a friend sent me um, a stained glass feather as a gift, as a memorial to Maggie, except that what she does was she donated the money to an rescue organization, and then they paid someone else to create a gift, and that gift came to me, and it was a blue jay feather, but nobody knew about
Oh.
Maggie and the Blue Jays. Nobody even knew that I was into feathers or stained glass. And this gift showed up and it said in memory of Maggie. And it was from a border
Mm.
collie rescue organization. And my friend had, donated on Maggie's behalf. And it was a Blue Jay feather.
Oh, Deborah, you
And
can't
it's
make
like,
this
you just
up.
can't make this stuff up,
You
Like,
cannot.
this is what I mean by there's so many signs and symbols and synchronicities. If you're just
Mhm.
open
Yeah.
to seeing them, hearing them, receiving them. And I truly believe it's one of those things that you have to believe
Yeah.
before you will see them. So if you're
Mm.
always walking around saying, "I don't believe in that," then you're not going to see, hear, or receive any of those messages. So it's really that
Mm.
leap of faith and trust to know that our animals are trying to connect with us for a reason in a
Mm.
specific way. And then we will get the messages. We will see the feathers. We will know that's the horse or the dog we need to rescue or the kitty that we need.
Mm.
Mm, they will share these messages, but we have to be open
Yep.
and
To
believe.
receive. Yep.
We have to be
To
open to receiving the
Yep.
messages.
And receiving is all about the
The
divine
divine feminine
feminine
is all about receiving. So it really is,
receptivity. Yes.
tapping into that energy of being able to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's hard. Some people,
it is
some
hard.
are not there yet for whatever. And this is the journey, right? Journey to
Yeah.
healing. And that's okay.
Mhm.
But just allowing, receiving. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that share, Deborah.
There's
You
so
have
many. I mean,
many.
there was more feathers that, show up all the time, blue
Um,
jay feathers. And, there's a blue jay that always comes around my garden and I always talk and say, "Hey Maggie, how are you? Like, what is it that you're trying to tell me?" And I've had situations where the Blue Jays have given me warnings, and so I've heeded that
um,
and not gone in a specific direction. I've had other times where it's been, validation or yes, you're on the right track. But the messages are
yeah.
there if we're open to receive.
Oh, I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. Okay, well, I know that you have a special gift uh,
I do.
for all of
Yes.
those who are watching,
Yeah.
listening. And again, it's about receiving.
It's about
Deborah has
receiving.
a beautiful ebook that you can download if you want to say a little something about this, Deborah, about the
Yeah,
ebook.
it's a little e-guide called Wisdom from Your Animal Guide. And it's just a little introduction to being open to, listening and recognizing and receiving the energy from the animals. So I think your listeners will enjoy it. There's some space in there to do some journaling, which I find is
Nice.
really, really impactful when we're doing this type of work to be able to get those feelings and messages out. And I love to journal. So when I'm teaching a lot of my workshops and courses, we will do a lot of journaling and meditation and really tapping into this energy. So yeah, I think your listeners will enjoy it. I think you've got the link for them that they can
Yes.
just click on, and then it'll be a download for them. Yeah,
Wonderful. Yes, I'll put that down below in the description once,
excellent.
yeah, that'll be available for everyone. I can't
Yep.
wait. I'm going
Yes.
to be the first one.
Yeah.
So
Enjoy.
I just want to say thank you so much, Deborah, for all that you do for the animal kingdom, for all that you are.
Thank
You're
you.
just so beautiful,
Oh, thank you so
and the
much.
work that you do. Um, Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate
And
being here. It was great to share.
again, I will put Deborah's website down below, www.theenergytherapist.com. And yeah, thank you so much. Want to say thank you all for listening, joining, sending you much aloha here.